Hi there everyone, Andy here, and you are watching Mouse Out of the House. Now, today we're going to be talking about a fascinating topic, animated feature-length films, and what goes into making them, especially if someone had the absolutely deranged idea to try and make one by themselves. P.S. Don't do that.
If you're doing it, stop it. Get some help.
But before we get into that, if you have not already, please like and subscribe. We just broke 750 hours of watch time, guys. We're inching closer to 600 subscribers. Every little bit helps. We really appreciate you guys. Before we dive into the absolutely Herculean task of making even a very bad animated feature, let's discuss what exactly is a feature-length animated film. Well, depending on what definition you go by, a feature-length film is somewhere between 40 and 80 minutes. Now, the confusion here comes from who you ask. The American Film Institute and the British Film Institute both state that 40 minutes or more is the requirement for feature-length categorization. But if you ask SAG or the Screen Actors Guild, the number is 80 minutes. To give an exact answer, let's look at what allows an animated film to qualify for the highest distinction it can currently receive in this nation: an Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. Now, quoting directly from the Oscars site, an animated film is defined as a motion picture in which movement and characters' performances are created using a frame-by-frame technique and usually falls into one of two general fields of animation: narrative or abstract. Some of the techniques of animating films include, but are not limited to, hand-drawn animation, computer animation, stop motion, clay animation, pixelation, cutout animation, pin screen, camera multiple pass imagery, kaleidoscopic effects created by frame, and drawing on the film frame itself. Motion capture and real-time puppetry are not by themselves animation techniques. An animated short film has a running time of 40 minutes or less. An animated feature film has a running time of more than 40 minutes. In an animated film, animation must figure in no less than 75% of the picture's running time. In addition, a narrative animated film must have a significant number of the major characters animated. If the picture is created in a cinematic style that could be mistaken for live action, the filmmakers must also submit information supporting how and why the picture is substantially a work of animation rather than a live action. So there we have, with a clear-cut distinction of what an animated feature is by definition. But what goes into making one? When sitting back in our comfy couch and binge watching a movie marathon of your favorite Studio Ghibli films, or maybe some Disney classic animation. Oh, Don Bluth? Heck, you into Genndy Tartakovsky? Me too, dude. But in the modern day, being able to consume all of this high-quality animation in such a small amount of time, sometimes we take for granted what actually goes into making some of these amazing films and shows. And whatever you're into, you can probably stand to appreciate the extremely hard work and dauntingly long hours some animators have to put up with to bring their art to life. Let's look at Hayao Miyazaki, a titan of the animation industry. His films Spirited Away in 2002 and The Boy and the Heron in 2023 both earned him Academy Awards for Best Animated Feature. A standard day in his life begins at 6 a.m. As he awakes, he has his morning coffee. By 9 a.m., he's had his breakfast and he has walked to Studio Ghibli. He works animating from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 12 hours of work. But it's said he will sometimes work up to 14 hours. After which, he returns home, I'm sure has some more coffee and cigarettes, and at some point retires. I'm just kidding. Hayao Miyazaki will never retire. Looking at the average production cycle of 2 to 3 years for most Studio Ghibli films, but with some films like Kiki's Delivery Service being made in just over a year, and pair that with a 6-day work week, that makes up 3,744 hours in a year that Hayao Miyazaki works animating. Let's break that down into even more tedious terms. Most animation is made in 24 FPS, or 24 frames per second, and that means exactly what it says, that for every second of animation, there are 24 frames of drawing and rendering. So, to meet the minimum of 40 minutes and some change, or 2,434 seconds it takes to qualify for the feature-length animated film, you will need about 58,416 frames of animation. But you should keep in mind that number could actually increase pretty dramatically if you start to factor in backgrounds, multiple characters per scene, effects that can't be drawn in and have to be added in post-processing, or anything that causes you to have to further edit an individual frame. So really, that number is quite a bit higher But let's stick with that 58,416 frames. If you as an artist can produce on average a frame every 5 minutes, it will take you 4,868 hours to complete every frame. Now, some of you may say, hey, you said Hayao Miyazaki, the absolute workhorse. He's only putting in 3,744 hours in a year. Why do I have to stack an extra 1,000 onto it? Well, it's even more because here's the thing. Someone like Hayao Miyazaki has an entire production company that is precisely geared to produce only the highest quality of animated films. There are people in between, there are fellow keyframers, storyboarders, background artists, people who keep the coffee stocked, people who deal with merchandising, foreign distribution, and a whole bunch of other words most of us will never ever have to deal with. So, for anyone, to even consider doing something so fucking stupid as taking on something like this themselves, you'd have to just hate yourself. But where would you even start? Where's square one of the delusions? Well, it's one of these. A show Bible, pitch Bible, animation Bible. Let's just call it your Bible, because this is your new religion. A religion where you are both the martyr and a crazed ascetic sitting atop a tower whispering to the wind.